Go for it now. Sorry, mate.
How's the team news looking, first of all? Injury news. Anna Shrubsole, she's in the squad, but how's her ankle?
Yeah, she is okay. She's not fit for selection. I think the plan is to try and aim for the third ODI. So she had a bit of a fall on it, a little bit of ligament damage, I think, but they're hoping that she's going to be back towards the back end of the series.
How big a setback is that for you and your plans for this series?
Yeah, it's a little one. Anya's been in our starting 11 in the ODI squad for a little bit of time now. But I guess what it does do, it gives us a chance to give other opportunities. And with the schedule we've got, it's 5 games in 11 days. So we're going to have to manage players really well, I think, and make sure we're looking after people physically and mentally. We've had a lot of cricket this summer. And on the positive, it also gives us a chance to give people opportunity, give people a go, and build that bigger squad that we've looked to do recently to try and get a real strong squad of players that we're going to need for what we've got coming up next year.
Is everyone else fit?
Everyone is fit, yes, as far as I'm aware.
Good stuff.
Touch wood, because we've got another training session to come.
Okay, good stuff. In terms of, you're just talking there about perhaps opportunities for new players. Is this a big opportunity for some players who haven't sort of established themselves in the one-day team to put their hand up ahead of, well, the Ashes and the World Cup?
Yeah, potentially. We've obviously got Charlie Dean new into the ODI squad, who we want to have a little bit of a look at. And I think it's about balancing, obviously wanting to win and put out a really strong team and also be ready for what we've got coming up next year and also trying to look to the future a little bit. So you're always trying to manage that balance a little bit and obviously trying to manage where players are at as well with the schedule that is pretty manic with the travel. So yeah, there's lots of things that go into that, lots of things to weigh up. But yeah, we're massively building towards next year, the Ashes and the World Cup in particular, that 50 over World Cup, where we're going to go and try and defend our crown in New Zealand. So this series is really key preparation leading into that.
And are you protecting mental health as well as physical health in that sense? You don't know exactly what the restrictions are going to be like in Australia, I presume.
Yeah, we're always trying to look after players, both physically and mentally. It's obviously been a slightly strange time in the last 18 months with what we had to go through in terms of bubbles and things. And we're still under restrictions now. We're still having to live safely and do certain things. And obviously we've got a trip to Pakistan coming up, which will be very similar, which we'll have to isolate before we go. And we don't really know what Australia's going to look like. So yeah, we've got a lot of cricket coming up and we have to manage the people that are going to play a lot of cricket for us. It's really important that physically and mentally those players are in a really good place. We obviously want to peak early next year, and with the strange times that we're still living in, it's really important at the moment to make sure people are looked after and in a really good place. And yeah, that's the forefront of our thinking in everything we do.
Yeah, the men's rotation policy was criticised a bit. That doesn't put you off? That doesn't make you reluctant to do it? No,
it's just managing it. I think the policy in terms of what the men did is slightly different. I think the thinking behind it and the plan behind it was very good. I think the objective was look after players, and that's exactly what we want to do. And it has been a tough time to look after people. The sort of restrictions we've been under, bubble life, etc. We're super lucky to be playing cricket, obviously, and we love it. But it does make things a little bit tricky. And just the schedule, it's 5 games in 11 days with travel. Obviously, for fast bowlers in particular, that's quite a tough schedule. And we're on the back end of a really busy summer of cricket. We've had the multi-format series against India. We've had the 100 and pretty much there hasn't been any break at all for us. So it's just making sure we're managing those players and putting them in the best position. And it also does give us the opportunity to build a bigger squad, which is really key for us moving forward, having that strength and depth and making sure we're still moving forward as a team. We're still pushing each other. People are fighting for places, which is a great place to be in.
And in terms of Pakistan and the Ashes in Australia, have you had any clarity, any updates on the likelihood of both tours going ahead and what it might look like?
Not too much, no. We're still in conversations very often with the ECB and the PCA are heavily involved as well. I think there's a security update due very soon. So we're just waiting on that. And yeah, we're just waiting to see. Things are obviously changing very quickly at the moment. But yeah, we're still in conversation and we're just waiting on a few things to try and work out what's going to happen. But obviously with what's going on in that part of the world, I think would be a really strong thing as female cricketers for us to go and play women's sport in that region. So yeah, hopefully things are deemed safe. That's out of my hands, the team's hands. It's up to the people above to make those decisions. So yeah, we're in constant conversations, and that'll progress, I'm sure, in the next few weeks.
So you'd like to go? You think you could actually, as you say, in that region, make a point almost, set a good example in terms of women's sport, especially given the Afghan women's team, its future is in doubt at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think the Pakistan women's team have gone through an amazing story as well, and it's obviously a big thing for us to go, and the men's team to go as well. And there's obviously a lot of things to consider inside of that, and we'll be advised on those things by people that are more in the know. But yeah, I personally think it would be a good thing for us to go to Pakistan. It'll be a huge thing as a women's side, the first ever England women's side to go and tour there.
And finally from me, Sophia Dunkley, she's established herself in the T20 team, but just a few one-day caps. Is this a big opportunity for her, and how impressed have you been by her?
Yeah, I've been so impressed. Dunks has put a lot of hard work into her mentality and her skill, the skill side of her game in the last year or so, and I've been hugely impressed with her maturity and how she's gone about things this summer. It's been a huge summer for her. I forget she's only got so few caps, and she made her ODI debut earlier in the year. She's only played those 3 games, and she was really impressive in those games. She won that game for us down at Taunton, played a really mature innings. And she's young, she's bound to have bumps along the road, but the signs are really good. It's been a spot that we haven't quite nailed in previous years. So if we can keep investing in Dunks, she keeps improving and keeps putting in the sort of performances that she has done, and keep working on a composure and being that finisher role. There's really good signs for us.
Thank you, Heather. Go well.
Thanks, James. Cheers.
Thanks very much, James. Valkyrie Baines, please.
Hiya. You mentioned Charlie Dean there. She's been sort of around the squad for a little while and hasn't played yet. How likely do you think she is to feature in this series? And if so, what do you think she brings to the side? Yeah,
she's definitely in with a shout. She's definitely in talks for making that first team. And I've been really impressed with her, actually. Played with her close at London Spirit, and her skill set. She's obviously the off spinner that we haven't played too much in the ODI team recently. So it gives us that other dimension potentially, and another matchup to different types of batters. And yeah, she's got good control. She's a good spinner. She's quite smart as well, how she does things. She's got a bit about her, and she's useful with the bat as well. So yeah, she's a really good addition. A very exciting cricketer, young cricketer to have around.
And just last one from me, what's been the focus coming out of the T20s with New Zealand into this one? What have you taken from that series to sort of throw forward to this one? Yeah,
not too much. I think a bit of a theme. I want us to be really ruthless in this series. I think potentially there was a few games we weren't super ruthless. We maybe got out when we were in charge of the game, or didn't finish and close out innings with the ball. So I think as a team, when we're on top, we need to make sure we're really pushing home that advantage and being really ruthless as a side, and making sure we're continuing to keep our standards really high as a group. And yeah, obviously we start fresh as well. I think it was good that we were tested in that T20 series, and obviously now we go into a new series, and we want to start that series really well against a good New Zealand team. Obviously the last time we played them in an ODI we lost. They played very well in that last ODI. So yeah, making sure we have the mentality to go at them really hard in the first game tomorrow.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, Valkyrie.
Thanks very much, Valkyrie. Sonia Twig, please.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Sonia.
Firstly, from me, how is the squad feeling? Because it's been a while since any of you have played anything longer than a T20.
Yeah, I feel okay. Yeah, 5 ODIs in 11 days is going to be tough, but I think we're prepared for that challenge. And looking forward to get back playing ODI cricket is a bit of a shift, and that first game always sometimes feels a little bit longer, having played a lot of T20 and even 100-ball cricket recently. So yeah, it's obviously making sure we're getting our head around the mentality of ODI cricket, how we're going to approach things with bat and ball. You obviously have that longer time, and you have to nail your skills for a lot longer. And as batters, you want to go and get that big score, and bowlers, you have a chance to work batters out and get into a spell. So yeah, today's our last training session to obviously get that mentality right and how we want to do things. But I think the general vibe is pretty excited to get stuck into the ODI format.
And Sophie Devine said New Zealand had been focusing on their 50 over preparation more so than the recent T20s. How do you respond to that?
Well, I can't really talk about what they're doing as a side. I think it's clear that they've worked pretty hard actually, and that's obviously up to them. But yeah, we're obviously focused on this ODI series now. We've had a lot of cricket, and with that World Cup coming up, it's obviously at the forefront of a lot of cricketers' minds, women's cricketers' minds around the world. So yeah, it's going to be a big series.
And what do you expect from New Zealand in the 50 over series? Have you spoken about them much, or has it mostly been focusing on yourselves?
Yeah, we've obviously looked at them and what their plans might be and how we're going to approach things as a side. That is always the focus, how we're going to do things as a side. But we obviously look at the opposition and how they do things, what their tactics might be, and how we're going to bowl to them, things like that, and how we're going to score runs against them. So yeah, we've played a lot against them recently. We had that series in February, and I'm sure they'll be desperate to do better than they did in that series. So yeah, we've looked at them and we've come up with plans that hopefully will be successful.
Finally, from me, how significant is this series with the World Cup this winter?
Yeah, quite significant. Obviously, you're wanting to peak for that tournament. We've got the Ashes as well, which are a huge thing for us as a group, wanting to be successful there and also in the World Cup. So yeah, it's about trying to peak at that time and trying to get your team in the best place and work out what the best combinations would be. So the series, 5 matches, obviously is going to be a big part of that.
Thank you. Good luck in Bristol.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Sonia. Theon Wynn, please.
Hiya. Just in terms of learnings from the T20 series, I was just wondering, the second game in particular that you lost and yourself and Catherine Brunt, 2 of the most senior players, weren't available. What are you taking forward from that experience?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a one-off actually. It was clear we were a little bit off, not quite at the standards we want to set as a side. But I think it was just one of those things. Sometimes that happens, and I think the response in the next game was really good. I think sometimes you learn more from those games where you're maybe not quite on it, and we can't afford to have a game like that in a World Cup and in a big competition. So yeah, we need to make sure that we're always on the ball and trying to execute our skills. And it wasn't through a lack of effort or anything. It was just one of those days we were a little bit off. No one really put their hand up to try and put in that big performance to win the game. But I think also we weren't far away. We nearly won that game. We nearly stole it at the end. So that's a good sign as a side that when you are off and you're not at your best, you're still pretty close to getting the win. So yeah, we won't take too much from it. It was one of those days that we just weren't quite on it, and we need to make sure we're on it in every game that we play.
And in the ODI series, you mentioned the potential need to rest and rotate players. And it's a very intense series. Is learning to play without some of your bigger names something that you kind of want to get used to as a team when you're looking towards the future?
Potentially, yeah. I think it's just about managing individuals and looking after people and making sure they're in the best place moving forward, and people don't burn out physically and mentally with the schedule that we have. But yeah, you're always trying to plan if a key player is injured, what your scenario is and who's going to come in, what the balance of the side might be affected by that. So yeah, it's definitely something we've looked at.
Cool, that's it from me. Thank you.
Is that if we do have injuries or dips in form, we have people that can come in that are ready to perform and are going to add their skills to that side.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks, Fion.
Thanks, Fion. I think we will leave it there unless there are any last minute bids for questions. No, thank you very much, everyone. Just a final quick one for me. You might have seen on your messages that this ODI is the Royal London ACE One Day International, which is in collaboration with the ACE Foundation, which is setting up a programme here in Bristol, which is obviously fantastic news, and the England women's team will be supporting and applauding that initiative. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. See ya.